Hi friends, I'm so glad you came to join me again this week. This is the last week of the season that we call Advent. And we've been talking about that for the last few weeks. And we've talked about how Advent is a word that means coming. It's the time when we anticipate and expect the coming of Jesus, and we look forward to celebrating Jesus' birth. Well, we've been talking in these last few weeks about stories about people that were preparing for Jesus to come. And in particular, we talked about Mary and Elizabeth. We've talked about angels and shepherds. Well, this week's story is about the actual coming of love to the earth. Because remember, the first week we talked about hope. The second week we talked about peace. The third week we talked about joy bubbling over last week. This week is all about love, and that was ultimately what came when Jesus was born. So, before we talk about the Bible story this week, I have a couple questions for you. Have you ever looked forward to an event with so much excitement and so much anticipation, and then when you finally got to that event, it wasn't what you expected? Maybe it was a family vacation that you expected to go on, and then you got there and you were disappointed. Or maybe it was a big holiday and something happened and things didn't happen the way that you thought they were going to happen. Or maybe you were looking forward to a certain Christmas present and you didn't get it that year. Well, when things don't go the way that we expect them to go, we can get really disappointed, and it can be really easy for us to close our hearts and not be willing to accept the blessings that are there because we didn't get the one thing that we wanted. Well, something similar happened to Mary and Joseph. Mary had been promised that she was carrying a very special baby. But when the time came for her to have that baby, instead of having it in a big, beautiful home surrounded by all of her relatives and family or whoever might have been there, she ended up having that baby in a stable with animals and hay and not exactly the nice, clean place that you would want to have a baby. And then instead of all of her family and her close friends coming to welcome the baby, while she was trying to rest after the baby was born, who came in but a bunch of strangers? And not only were they strangers, they were smelly, stinky shepherds. If you know anything about sheep, you know they're cute and they're cuddly, but they don't smell too good. And so these shepherds had been out in the field. They had been taking care of the sheep. They probably didn't smell too good. And they were probably stinky and dirty and smelly. But they're the ones who came to meet baby Jesus when he was born. Well, Mary could have very easily turned to them all and said, "Nope, go away. Don't want you here." But instead, she didn't close her heart off. She opened her heart to the shepherds to come in, invited them in, and listened to their amazing story about how the angel came to them and told them that this baby was going to be born. Well, sometimes when things don't go our way, it's really easy for us to close our hearts to love. But when we close our hearts to love, then we also close our hearts, like I said, to the blessings that can come. So, what do you do when things don't go the way you planned? Do you feel nervous and afraid? Do you feel like the ground is shaking beneath your feet? Do you lock your heart up? Sometimes people lock their hearts because they think that that's how they can protect it. That's how they can keep it safe. They lock their hearts from strangers and they don't make new friends, or they lock out their hearts to different places, even though those places might become places of great belonging and blessing. The problem with locking up your heart is that it doesn't actually protect you. It keeps you from experiencing the love that you didn't think or imagine would happen. So, instead of locking your heart up, we can choose to open our hearts to love the way Mary did. When Mary opened her heart, she didn't open it just to love for herself or just to love for the shepherds. She opened it to love from God to the whole world. So here are some questions for you all as a family to discuss this week. So I hope you will take time one night around the dinner table or even right now as you're watching this video to pause it and answer these questions with each other as a family. So here's question number 1. What do you think it was like for Mary after Jesus was born? Can you imagine some of the fears and worries she might have felt? What do you think helped her choose love in the story? Question number 2. Can you think of a time when things didn't go the way you expected and you felt afraid? Share your story with your family. Did you choose love? If not, can you imagine how it would have been different if you had chosen love? Here's the last question. What is one way you can choose love this week? And after you think of that and talk about it around the table, I want you later on in the week, make time to check in with each other and encourage each other and hear how that way of choosing love, how did that play out for each other? So I want you to make time to encourage each other later on in the week and talk about that. So I hope you guys answer those questions with each other. I hope you enjoyed talking with each other. And I hope you've enjoyed all of the questions that we've had in all of these lessons. Well, as always, guys, we have, with every lesson, we have a coloring sheet. And we also have an activity. And today's activity that goes with love is we are going to make treasure chests because love is a treasure, right? So it is something that we treasure and that we cherish. So you'll have an activity sheet that will have little cutouts, little things that you can color and cut out. You see all these cute little shapes that you can color and cut out. Those are what things you're going to use to decorate your treasure chest. And then there's also a triangle like this that you can use, that you can color. And then there's a circle, and the circle says choose love. And you can color these however you want. I always use markers, but you can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, whatever you have. And then the other thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a glue stick, which I never have a glue stick, right? I can never find it. I don't know where my glue sticks are. And then you're also going to need a piece of colored paper. So you could use colored printer paper. You could use a piece of construction paper. I'm using a piece of cardstock, of lightweight cardstock. So I wanted green because I like green. And so you're going to take the paper, you're going to hold it this way. So hold it the long way, like a portrait style, not this way, but this way. You're going to take the top two corners and you're going to fold them like you're folding a paper airplane, like you're starting a paper airplane. So they'll make a little point like that, okay? And then the tip of that point goes to the bottom of the page. So it looks like that. Kind of looks like an envelope now, right? This is going to be our two-dimensional treasure chest. Now, you're going to take your triangle that you colored and cut out. And you're gonna take it and you're gonna glue it to the triangle flap on the piece of paper. So it looks kind of like that. Okay, that's gonna be the top of the treasure chest. And remember, we talked about how we can choose either to lock up our hearts or we can choose to open them. And so our treasure chest is gonna be one that we're gonna open up. Anytime that we feel the need to lock up our hearts because we're afraid of something or because something's not going the way we wanted and we're kind of disappointed by it, instead, we're going to open it up. We're going to take our circle. We're going to glue our circle on the inside right there. And we're going to remind ourselves to choose love instead of fear. And then you're going to take all these other little things and you're going to use them to decorate all around the circle. And that is going to be our treasure chest. And then you're going to take your treasure chest, put it somewhere that everybody in the house can see it and can see it all the time, so that if anybody in the family starts to feel like they want to lock their hearts up and are afraid, then they can see it as a reminder that if they open their hearts and choose love, that they can get special, amazing blessings from God that they don't get if they lock their hearts up. So I hope you have enjoyed all of these lessons, and just know that there will be another lesson for Christmas Eve that I'll have for you on the website and on the Facebook page, and that I'm going to try to get Miss Chrissy to share on the preschool page as well. There will also be another lesson because Christmas doesn't end on December 25th. I don't know how many of you knew that. Christmas, you've heard the song, The 12 Days of Christmas? That's because Christmas actually starts on December 25th and goes until January 6th. So be on the lookout for another special devotion time, family devotion time, that'll come out around January 6th from me for a special day that we call Epiphany. And you're going to have to wait to find out a little more about what Epiphany is. But it is one of my favorite days on the calendar. So we are going to pray our prayer for this week. And it's a prayer all about love, because this whole lesson is all about love. So put your hands up in the air and you're going to wave them. And when I count 1, 2, 3, you're going to clap them. You're going to bring them down in prayer formation, and we're going to pray to God. Loving God, thank you for loving each one of us no matter what. Choosing love is hard, especially when we are anxious or frustrated or afraid. Give us the courage to open our hearts and to choose love even when it's not easy. Amen. All right, guys, you have a great, wonderful week leading up to Christmas. Bye now.